I stand frozen in my parents' living room, unable to process what I'm seeing. My suitcase lies open on the floor, clothes spilling out like evidence at a crime scene. Dad clutches 5 crisp $100 bills in his trembling hand, his face a dangerous shade of crimson. The family photo on the mantle, my college graduation just 3 weeks ago, seems to mock me with its captured happiness. Dad, that's not mine, I say, my voice sounding hollow in my own ears. I would never steal from Kayla. In the corner, my 20-year-old sister sobs dramatically, shoulders heaving with the perfect rhythm of practiced tears. I was saving that money, she whimpers between gasps, for my car payment. Dad's eyes, usually warm when they look at me, have turned to ice. In his world, evidence is evidence, and my sister's tears are all the confirmation he needs. The money was found in my suitcase, therefore I must be guilty. Emerson. He spits my name like it tastes bad. 23 years old, a college graduate, and this is how you behave? I didn't take it, I say, louder this time. Someone put it there. Dad's laugh is short, harsh. Someone? Who, Emerson? The money fairy? Before I can answer, he steps forward and kicks my suitcase. The professional clothes I'd carefully packed for my new job in Denver scatter across the floor, blouses, slacks, and sensible heels that took 4 years of part-time work and careful saving to acquire. Get out of this house, he growls. Now, before you embarrass us any further. Kayla's sobbing intensifies. She probably just wanted new clothes for her fancy job, she says, voice quavering. I'm not even mad. I just want to know why she didn't just ask me. My mother, Celeste, stands in the doorway wringing her hands. Her eyes dart between Dad and me, but she says nothing. She never does when it matters. Mom? I plead, but she looks away. Through the living room window, I can see Mrs. Peterson from next door peering through her curtains. By nightfall, everyone in Springfield, Missouri, will know that Emerson Tate, the good daughter, the one who went to college and got a degree, is actually a thief. I bend down to gather my scattered clothes, my mind replaying my homecoming just 3 days ago. After 4 years in Colorado, I'd returned to stay with my parents for 1 week before starting my new accounting job in Denver. 1 week that now feels like a terrible mistake. I'd stepped through the front door with my suitcase, diploma in hand, and Kayla had given me that look, the one she's perfected since childhood. The one that says, I hate that you're getting attention. Guess you need a new wardrobe to look like a city girl now, huh? She'd said, eyeing my simple blouse and jeans. Mom had laughed, that strained laugh she uses when she's uncomfortable. Don't start, you two, Dad had said, though Kayla had been the only one starting anything. Later that evening, I'd overheard them in the kitchen with the neighbors. Our Emerson graduated with honors in accounting, Dad had boasted. Starting at that big financial firm in Denver next week. Full benefits too, Mom had added, pride warming her voice. I'd glanced at Kayla, who sat alone on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Her expression had darkened with each compliment thrown my way. I should have recognized the warning signs. I've spent my entire life keeping the peace in this house. When Kayla took credit for the science project I'd helped her with in 8th grade, I'd let her. When she'd told everyone that she was the one who came up with the fundraiser idea for the high school dance, an idea I'd spent weeks planning, I'd said nothing. I've always stepped back, smoothed things over, kept quiet to avoid disappointing my parents. The good daughter, the responsible one, the peacekeeper. But as I kneel on the floor, gathering my scattered belongings with trembling hands, something shifts inside me. My spine straightens, and when I speak, my voice is steadier than I expect. I didn't take anything. Dad scoffs, but I continue, rising to my feet. I've never stolen a single thing in my life, I say, looking directly at him. Not from Kayla, not from anyone. The money was in your suitcase, he says, as if that settles everything. Yes, I say. In my suitcase, which has been sitting in the guest room unlocked for 3 days. In a house where everyone knows I keep my things. Kayla's sobbing pauses for just a fraction of a second, a break in her performance, but it's enough. I see it, though no one else seems to notice. I look at my mother, still silent in the doorway. I look at my father, unmoved by my defense. I look at Kayla, already back to her convincing tears, and suddenly, with painful clarity, I understand that this family, my family, values peace over truth. They prefer Kayla's comfortable lies to my uncomfortable innocence. I see, I say quietly. I zip my suitcase, knowing some of my belongings are still scattered across the floor, but no longer caring. I pull on my jacket and lift my suitcase, surprised by how steady my hands have become. Emerson, don't be dramatic. Dad says, his tone softening just slightly, as if he suddenly realized this might be going too far. Just admit what you did, apologize to your sister, and we can put this behind us. But I'm already walking toward the door, a strange calm replacing the shock and hurt. I've never stolen anything in my life, I say, pausing at the threshold. I look back at them, my father with the money still clutched in his hand, my mother with her perpetual silence, and Kayla, whose tears have miraculously begun to subside now that I'm leaving. When you figure that out, you know where to find me. I step outside, closing the door behind me with a soft click. The Springfield summer heat hits me like a wall, and I realize I have nowhere to go. But somehow, that seems less frightening than staying in a house where the truth means nothing at all. The dashboard clock reads 3:17 a.m. when I jolt awake, my neck stiff from sleeping at an awkward angle. My car sits at the far edge of a gas station parking lot, where I hoped no one would notice me. The sodium lights cast a sickly yellow glow across my skin. I shift uncomfortably in the reclined driver's seat, my stomach growling, a painful reminder that I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. I grab my phone, not because I expect any messages who would contact me now, but because scrolling through emails seems better than dwelling on hunger or homelessness. The screen illuminates my face in the darkness as I tap through notifications. Then I see it. Subject: urgent. Suspension of employment offer. Ethicor Financial. My thumb hovers over the message. Something cold and heavy settles in my chest as I open it. Dear Miss Tate, we have received a serious ethical complaint regarding your character and professional conduct. In accordance with company policy, your offer of employment has been suspended pending an investigation into these allegations. We will contact you within 5 business days with our decision. Regards. Human Resources. Ethicor Financial. I read it 3 times, each pass making the words no less devastating. My hands begin to shake, and I press them against the steering wheel to steady them. This isn't just about $500 or being kicked out of my parents' house. This is my entire future. Kayla. The realization hits me with such force that I gasp aloud. I frantically search my backpack for the employment letter with HR contact information. It's gone. The original was in my desk drawer at home, a drawer I couldn't empty before Dad threw me out. A memory surfaces. 2 days ago, walking past my bedroom and glimpsing Kayla slipping out, her expression startled when she saw me. Just borrowing a sweater, she'd said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I close mine now, leaning back against the headrest. The puzzle pieces click into place with sickening clarity. The planted money was just the opening move. While I was defending myself against theft accusations, Kayla was making an anonymous call to my future employer. No, I whisper, then louder. No. My fist strikes the dashboard, the pain barely registering through my rage. The violation is so complete it leaves me breathless. Not just my home and family, but my career, the thing I've worked toward for 4 years. I dial the number for Ethicor's HR department from memory, grateful I'd programmed it into my phone. After 3 rings, a voicemail prompts me to leave a message. I hang up and try again, unable to formulate what I'd say anyway. It's the middle of the night. No one will answer until morning. The hunger in my stomach transforms into a hollow ache as I curl forward, pressing my forehead against the steering wheel. Time passes minutes or hours, I'm not sure, until the sky begins to lighten with the first hint of dawn. When the clock reads 8 a.m., I call HR again. This time a woman answers. Human Resources, this is Patricia. Hello, this is Emerson Tate. I received an email about my job offer being suspended and I... Yes, Miss Tate. Her voice cools noticeably. We received an anonymous tip with some concerning information about your character. What information exactly? I ask, fighting to keep my voice steady. A pause. I'm not at liberty to discuss the specifics, but the allegations involve theft from family members and dishonesty. The humiliation burns through me like acid. I'm defending myself against strangers who already believe I'm guilty just like my family did. Those allegations are false. I say, I've never stolen anything in my life. I'm being set up by someone who doesn't want me to succeed. I understand this is upsetting, Patricia says, her tone suggesting she understands nothing of the sort. But we take ethical concerns seriously at Ethicor. The investigation is ongoing. After hanging up, I sit in stunned silence. Then I notice two women at the gas pump, looking in my direction and whispering. One laughs. I recognize them, Sarah Mills and Jennifer Baker from high school. I roll down my window slightly, and their words drift toward me. Did you hear about the Tate girl? Stole from her own sister for interview clothes. Always thought she was too perfect. Guess we know the truth now. They walk into the convenience store, unaware I've heard every word. The realization slams into me. Kayla hasn't just poisoned my professional life. She's destroying my reputation throughout Springfield. My phone buzzes with texts from people I haven't spoken to in years. Hey, everything okay? Heard something happened. Is it true what they're saying about you? Yikes. Rough situation with your family. The gas station bathroom mirror reflects a stranger pale, with dark circles under her eyes. I splash water on my face and stare at my reflection, cataloging what I've lost in 24 hours. My family's trust, my temporary home, my reputation, and potentially my dream job. My apartment lease in Denver starts in 2 weeks. Without this job, I can't pay rent. Without rent, I'm homeless in a new city instead of my hometown. I return to my car and watch the sun set through my windshield, the reality of my situation settling over me like a heavy blanket. The tears that have threatened all day finally come, silent and hot against my cheeks. Then something shifts inside me. I stop crying and start thinking. I pull out a notebook and pen from my backpack and begin writing everything that's happened, with exact times and dates. The planted money. Kayla in my room. The missing HR contact information. The timing of the accusation and subsequent anonymous call. When my phone rings, I almost ignore it, but the name makes me answer immediately. Aunt Lucky, I say, my voice cracking despite my efforts to control it. Emerson, she says, her voice warm and familiar. I've been hearing some strange things. Want to tell me what's going on? I take a deep breath and explain everything. When I finish, the line is quiet for a moment. Emerson. Aunt Lucky says firmly, I've known you your whole life. You wouldn't steal a penny if it wasn't yours. Now, where are you staying? I hesitate. My car, at the Quick Trip on Glenstone. Absolutely not, she says, with such authority that I almost smile. You're coming to my house right now. I've got the guest room ready. I don't want to be a burden, I say, though the prospect of a real bed makes me dizzy with longing. And anyone who thinks you're a thief isn't family worth worrying about. That night, after a hot shower and a real meal, I sit at Aunt Lucky's kitchen table and compose a formal email to Ethicor's HR department. I explain the situation in professional, measured terms, outlining the family conflict and my sister's likely interference. I attach character references from my university professors and previous employers. The response comes faster than expected. They'll postpone their final decision until after a more thorough investigation, rather than canceling the offer outright. It's a small victory that costs me another sleepless night, planning how to clear my name while wondering if any relationship with my family can ever be repaired. Even if I prove my innocence, how do I forgive the people who should have believed in me first, not last? Aunt Lucky leaves a cup of tea by my side as I stare at my laptop screen. Truth doesn't need to be loud, she tells me, squeezing my shoulder. It just needs to be strong enough to stand firm amidst the lies. For the first time since I was thrown out of my childhood home, I feel something other than despair. Not hope exactly, but determination. I've spent years being the peacekeeper, the one who smooths things over. Now it's time to stand firm. A week later, the phone rings early Monday morning, just as I'm pouring coffee in Aunt Lucky's kitchen. My aunt glances at the caller ID and her expression tightens. It's Kayla, she says, holding out the receiver to me. I shake my head, not ready to hear whatever new story my sister has concocted. Aunt Lucky nods and answers instead, putting it on speaker. Lucky speaking. Hi, Aunt Lucky. Kayla's voice carries that sugary concern she uses when trying to appear virtuous to adults. Is Emerson there? Mom and Dad are worried sick. She's resting, Aunt Lucky says, catching my eye. What can I help you with? I just wanted to check on her. She's been having issues lately. Acting strange. taking things that don't belong to her. Kayla's voice drops to a theatrical whisper. We're worried she might be going through something serious. My fingers tighten around my mug. The character assassination continues, even when I'm not there to defend myself. Interesting perspective, Kayla. Aunt Lucky says, her tone perfectly neutral. I'll let her know you called. After she hangs up, my phone buzzes with a voicemail notification. Dad. I play it on speaker, bracing myself. Emerson. His voice sounds tired but firm. Your mother is worried sick. This has gone on long enough. Come home and we'll forget this happened. No apology, no acknowledgement that I might be telling the truth. Just the expectation that I'll return and will sweep everything under the rug. I scroll through my messages, 3 from high school acquaintances asking about the misunderstanding with my family, and 1 from my cousin Jacob wondering if I'm getting help for my problems. The narrative Kayla has spun is spreading through Springfield like wildfire. Aunt Lucky sits across from me, her weathered hands wrapped around her own coffee mug. Your grandmother had a saying for times like this, she says. Truth doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be strong enough to stand firm amidst the lies. I don't feel very strong right now, I admit. Then we'll build that strength, she says, pushing a notepad toward me. Write everything down, dates, times, witnesses, who saw what and when. We need a paper trail. For the next 2 hours, I document everything from the moment I arrived home, to finding the money in my suitcase, to the HR email suspending my job offer. Aunt Lucky watches me work, occasionally asking clarifying questions that help me remember details I'd forgotten in the blur of betrayal. Now, she says when I finish, let's practice what you'll say when you run into your sister or your parents. I'd rather avoid them entirely. You live in the same town, honey. Avoidance isn't a strategy, it's a postponement. She role-plays as Kayla, mimicking my sister's wide-eyed innocent act, while I practice responding with calm facts rather than emotional outbursts. We try different scenarios, running into Dad at the gas station, Mom at church, Kayla at a store. Remember, Aunt Lucky coaches, when you get emotional, they win. Emotion makes you look unstable, facts make you look credible. By Wednesday afternoon, I feel steadier, not healed, but more equipped. I head to Marshall's grocery to pick up ingredients for dinner, Aunt Lucky's way of letting me contribute without paying rent I can't afford. I'm comparing prices on pasta when I hear her voice. Emerson? Kayla stands at the end of the aisle, a shopping basket over her arm. She looks shocked to see me, though something in her expression suggests this encounter isn't entirely coincidental. I told Dad not to be so hard on you, she says, her voice loud enough for the elderly couple comparing tomato sauces to hear. Everyone makes mistakes. I notice the couple glancing our way, curiosity in their eyes. That's when I realize Kayla isn't just speaking to me, she's performing for an audience. Building her narrative of concerned sister and troubled Emerson, Aunt Lucky's coaching echoes in my mind. Calm facts, no emotional outbursts. I know what you did, Kayla, I say, my voice steady and measured. All of it. Her confident smile falters for a split second, a crack in the performance. What are you talking about? The money, the call to HR, all of it. I place the pasta in my basket. And soon, everyone else will know too. Panic flashes across her face before she recovers. You're just trying to blame me for your... But I'm already walking away, leaving her stammering excuses to the tomato sauce couple. For the first time since this nightmare began, I feel a flicker of power returning. Not from lashing out, but from standing firm. That evening, my phone rings with an unfamiliar number. It's Lindsay, a friend from high school I haven't spoken to in months. Emerson, I have to tell you something, she says without preamble. Kayla was at a party last weekend at the Miller's place. My little brother was there, and he heard her bragging to some friends that she set up her sister to teach her some humility. Those were her exact words. My hand trembles as I press the phone tighter to my ear. She admitted it? Not just admitted it, she was proud of it. Jason said she was laughing about how you'd have to come crawling back once your job fell through. Lindsay pauses. I can tell others what I heard. This isn't right, Emerson. After we hang up, I sit at Aunt Lucky's kitchen table, surrounded by my timeline notes and documentation. For the first time, I have external confirmation of what I already knew. My sister deliberately set me up, cost me my reputation, nearly cost me my job, and found it amusing. I think we should record Lindsay's statement. Aunt Lucky says after I tell her. Written and audio. Then send it to HR along with your timeline. Will they even believe it? People believe evidence, honey, and a witness statement is evidence. While Aunt Lucky makes dinner, I craft a formal statement for HR, attaching Lindsay's testimony. I forward all communications to Aunt Lucky as backup and start mentally preparing for my move to Denver. The apartment lease starts next week, and I'm determined to be there, job or no job. The future I've worked so hard for feels uncertain, but I refuse to let Kayla's jealousy define my path forward. They can take my home, but not my dignity or my future. Later that night, I break down at Aunt Lucky's kitchen table, the weight of everything finally crashing over me. I gave them everything. I sob, shoulders shaking. I was the perfect daughter. I never caused problems. Why wasn't it enough? Aunt Lucky wraps her arms around me, her embrace solid and warm. Some people can't stand to see others shine, she says softly. Your light makes Kayla see her own darkness. That's not your fault, and it's not your burden to fix. I cry until my throat hurts, until the reservoir of tears I've been holding back since that first accusation runs dry. The painful acceptance settles in my chest. My family might never truly see me. They might always choose Kayla's comfortable lies over my uncomfortable truth. I don't need their approval anymore, I say finally, wiping my face with a paper towel. No, honey, Aunt Lucky agrees. You don't. The next morning, I record Lindsay's statement, asking her detailed questions about what she heard. I create a document with the timeline of events, marking dates and interactions with precise details. I forward all my communications with HR to Aunt Lucky as backup. Then I start packing the few belongings I have for Denver. I've decided to focus on clearing my name professionally first, personally second. The job in Denver is my future. My family is my past. If they ever want to be part of my future again, they'll need to meet me on new terms with truth as the price of admission. That evening, while I'm out picking up more packing supplies, Aunt Lucky calls my cell. Celeste just called the house looking for you, she says, her voice carefully neutral. What did she want? She said, and I quote, I need to talk to Emerson. I've heard something. About Kayla. My heart quickens. What did she hear? She said she overheard her neighbor repeating a story. The exact same one Kayla told them about you stealing. But she said Kayla was bragging about setting you up. I gripped the phone tighter. What did you say? I told her you'd be back tonight. Aunt Lucky pauses. Then I asked her, so now you believe her? The question hangs between us, heavy with implication. Is it too little, too late? Or is it the first crack in the wall of lies Kayla has built around our family? Either way, I'm ready. Truth doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be strong enough to stand firm amidst the lies. And finally, I feel strong enough to face whatever comes next. The hope that flares in my chest feels dangerous. I've been burned too many times. Did she actually say she believes me? I ask, voice carefully neutral. Not in those words, Aunt Lucky admits, but she wants to talk to you. I sink into the kitchen chair, mind racing. First, I was sleeping in my car, job offer suspended, reputation destroyed. Now there's a crack in their perfect story. I reach for my phone. Wait, I say, a new thought forming. I need to record these conversations. All of them. From now on. Aunt Lucky confirms. Smart girl. Later that night, I spend 30 minutes preparing, writing down key points on a yellow legal pad. Facts, not emotions. Evidence, not accusations. When I'm ready, I set my phone to record and dial my mother's number while Aunt Lucky sits beside me. A silent witness. Celeste answers on the second ring. Emerson? Oh, thank goodness. Hi, Mom. My voice is professional, the same tone I used in mock interviews at college. Aunt Lucky said you called. Yes. I heard something. From Meredith next door. She hesitates. She said Kayla was at a party, bragging about teaching you a lesson. Something about money. That's right, I say simply. Is that true? About the money? I press my fingers against the cool tabletop. Mom, this isn't just about the money. My job offer was suspended because someone called HR with ethical concerns about me. What? No, that can't. I have a recording of my conversation with HR, I say. Would you like to hear it? Before she can answer, I hear a shuffle, and Kayla's voice fills the line. It's me. Look, this whole thing got so out of hand. I was just joking at that party. I never meant. Let me talk to her. A deeper voice interrupts. Dad. Of course. Emerson. His voice carries that familiar tone of authority. You're blowing this way out of proportion. It was just money, not a big deal. If you hadn't overreacted by storming out. I didn't storm out. I say, my voice steady despite the anger burning beneath. You kicked me out. You told me to leave before I could embarrass you further. Those were your exact words. Well, tensions were high. This isn't about the money, I cut in. This is about my job. I tap the screen, playing the recording of my HR call. The dispassionate voice fills the kitchen. Miss Tate, we received a concerning call suggesting you had been involved in theft from family members. Given the financial nature of your position, we're obligated to investigate. When it ends, silence stretches across the line. Who would? Celeste begins. Someone knew exactly where I was going to work. I say. Someone had access to my offer letter. Someone wanted to make sure I couldn't leave Springfield. Emerson. Kayla's voice breaks through, tearful as always. You're making it sound like some kind of conspiracy. I would never do that. Why would I even want to? I don't know, Kayla. Why don't you tell me why you planted money in my suitcase and told everyone I stole it? Now wait just a minute, Dad interjects. If you hadn't left in such a hurry. I'm not doing this, I say firmly. I'm not arguing about what we all know happened. I'll talk when you're ready to acknowledge what really happened. Aunt Lucky squeezes my shoulder as I end the call. Her eyes are proud. They'll never admit it, I say, the realization settling over me like a heavy coat. They'll never see what she did. Never argue with someone who believes their own lies, Aunt Lucky says, pouring fresh coffee into my mug. Save your breath and your sanity. I wrap my hands around the warm ceramic. So what now? Now you focus on what matters, the job, your future. Some relationships can't be saved, Emerson. They can only be managed. An hour later, the doorbell rings before I can respond. Through the front window, I spot Kayla's blue sedan in the driveway. Unbelievable, I mutter. When I open the door, Kayla's eyes are red-rimmed, her makeup artfully smudged. She looks small, vulnerable, exactly the image she wants to project. Please, she says, pushing past me into the house. I'm so sorry about everything. This has all gone too far. Which part are you sorry for? I ask, closing the door. Taking the money from your room and putting it in my suitcase? Or calling my employer? Kayla's face crumples. Why do you always have to be so perfect? College degree, fancy job, everyone always talking about how wonderful Emerson is. You always get everything. The venom in her voice startles even me. This isn't a performance for once, it's raw jealousy. I worked for those things, Kayla. And I didn't? She paces Aunt Lucky's living room. Not everyone wants to be stuck in an office all day with a calculator. My phone buzzes. Owen. I answer on speaker. Emerson, this has to stop. Your sister is devastated. If you keep spreading these accusations, the whole family will hear about it. Is that what you want? I haven't spread anything, I say. But Lindsay has been talking to people who heard Kayla at the party. Lindsay? Kayla's face goes pale. What did she say? My phone pings with a text. It's Lindsay. 3 more people confirmed they heard Kayla bragging, sending you their names. Also, I think someone from your old summer job called your new company about you. As if on cue, my email notification sounds. I open it, my heart stuttering. It's HR. I say, scanning the message. They've received several calls vouching for my character. I look up at Kayla. People are figuring out what really happened. The doorbell rings again. This time it's Celeste, alone, her face drawn. I need to talk to you both, she says, glancing from me to Kayla. Meredith wasn't the only neighbor who heard you bragging, Kayla. Mrs. Peterson called me today. She said you were laughing about finally putting Emerson in her place. Kayla's expression freezes. Mom, they misunderstood. I was just... My phone buzzes with another text. A screenshot from Lindsay shows Kayla's latest social media post. Family is about forgiveness. So hurt by betrayal, but trying to heal. Below it, comments are piling up. Former classmates asking pointed questions. People connecting dots. Your post isn't going quite like you planned, I say, showing her the screen. Celeste's phone rings. She answers, steps away, then returns with tears in her eyes. That was Mrs. Wilson from church, she says to Kayla. She wanted to know if you needed a therapist referral, because her grandson was at that party too, and he told her everything. Kayla collapses onto the sofa, her facade crumbling. Mom, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted. You just wanted to hurt your sister, Celeste finishes, and you've been lying to all of us. For the first time in my life, I see my mother looking at Kayla the way she's always looked at me, with expectation. With accountability. Emerson, Celeste says, turning to me with tears in her eyes. I think I've made a terrible mistake. I say nothing, letting the truth settle in the room like dust after an explosion. Some things, once broken, can never be put back together the same way. And sometimes, that's exactly as it should be. On Friday that week, the phone rang just as I finished arranging the evidence across Aunt Lucky's dining room table. Owen's name flashed on the screen. Your sister is devastated, he said without preamble. You need to let this go. I pressed the phone to my ear, listening to the familiar cadence of his disappointment. How many times had I heard that tone? How many times had I yielded to it? Family forgives each other, he continued, his voice softening into the reasonable tone he used when he wanted compliance. That's what we do. Is that all? I asked, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. A pause. Your mother misses you. I studied the timeline I'd created, each event meticulously documented with dates and supporting evidence. 4 years of college, reduced to a line item. A job offer dangling by a thread. I'll be in touch, I said and hung up. My phone pinged with a text from Kayla. I'm sorry about the money. I was jealous and stupid. Can we move past this? The careful wording struck me immediately. The money, not the call to HR, not the sabotage of my career. Just the money, the part that witnesses had already confirmed. Another text followed. Mom's barely eating. She's so upset about all this. The family playbook hadn't changed, just the player's desperation. Aunt Lucky entered with 2 cups of coffee, placing one beside me. Owen? She asked. I nodded. And Kayla. They want me to let it go for Mom's sake. And what about your sake? She asked, settling into the chair across from me. My phone rang again, HR. My heart hammered against my ribs as I answered. Miss Tate, the woman said. We've reviewed your documentation and spoken with several character references. There's one more thing we need before making our final decision tomorrow. I gripped the edge of the table. What's that? A character reference from an immediate family member. The room seemed to tilt slightly. A family member? Yes. We understand your situation, but given the nature of our firm, family relationships are considered significant character indicators. After we disconnected, I stared at the evidence spread before me. They need a reference from my family. Aunt Lucky set her coffee down. I can do it. I shook my head. They specifically said immediate family, parents or siblings. They know what happened. They're testing you. Then I'll pass the test. I stood up, sudden clarity washing over me. Call them. Tell them to meet us here at 7. All 3 of them. Aunt Lucky raised an eyebrow. You're sure? Completely. The hours passed in careful preparation. I arranged and rearranged the evidence, rehearsed what I would say, and steeled myself against the inevitable emotional manipulation. At 6:55, car lights swept across the front window. They arrived together, Celeste first, looking smaller than I remembered, followed by Owen with his shoulders squared defensively. Kayla entered last, her expression wavering between defiance and apprehension. Thank you for coming, I said, gesturing to the chairs I'd arranged on the other side of the dining table. Please sit down. Emerson, this has gone far enough, Owen started. I held up my hand. HR called today. They're making their final decision tomorrow. I kept my voice even, factual. They've requested a character reference from an immediate family member. Kayla's eyes widened slightly. I've gathered everything they need to know. I continued, gesturing to the documents spread across the table. A timeline of events, witness statements, email correspondence. I pressed play on my phone, Lindsay's voice filling the room. She was at Jason's party bragging about how she'd taught Emerson some humility. Said she needed to be knocked down a peg after getting that fancy job. Kayla's face drained of color. You recorded people talking about me? She asked, her voice rising. That's so. Kayla. My mother's voice cut through the room with unexpected authority. Tell the truth. Now. The silence that followed felt electric. Owen sat motionless, his expression unreadable as he stared at the evidence before him. I didn't, Kayla began, but faltered when Celeste turned to look at her. All of it, Celeste said. Every bit. I waited, my heart pounding but my exterior calm. This wasn't about winning anymore. It was about truth standing firm amid the lies, just as Aunt Lucky had taught me. Fine, Kayla finally whispered. I took my money and put it in her suitcase, and I called HR. Owen's head snapped up. You what? She always gets everything. Kayla's composure cracked, tears spilling down her cheeks. The grades, the praise, the fancy job, while I'm stuck here in this stupid town working retail. So you tried to ruin her life? Aunt Lucky asked quietly from the doorway. Kayla didn't answer. I slid the HR email across the table. They need a reference by noon tomorrow. Owen stared at the paper, then at me, as though seeing me for the first time. You arranged all this, gathered all this evidence. I had to, I said simply. The room fell silent again. Then Celeste reached for her phone, her movements deliberate. What are you doing? Kayla asked. The right thing, finally. My mother's fingers moved across her screen. There, she said, turning her phone so we could all see. A social media post. We were wrong. Our youngest daughter, Kayla, lied that Emerson stole her money. Emerson is innocent. We apologize for not believing our daughter. Mom, Kayla lunged for the phone. You're ruining my life. No, Celeste said, pulling the phone away. You ruined your own. Within minutes, notifications began appearing. Friends, neighbors, people from church, all seeing the truth laid bare. I'm calling HR, Celeste announced, standing up. Right now. Mom, please, Kayla begged. But Celeste was already dialing, her voice steady as she explained everything. Yes, I'm sending you the public acknowledgement right now. And my husband and I both vouch for Emerson's character and integrity. Owen remained silent, the authority he'd wielded so confidently now, visibly diminished. When Celeste handed him the phone, he hesitated before taking it. This is Owen Tate, he said, his voice rough. My daughter Emerson has always been honest and hardworking. The accusations against her were false. He paused. And I should have known better. After the call ended, we sat in a transformed silence. The hierarchy that had governed our family for years had crumbled. My father, once the unquestioned authority, looked diminished. My mother, typically silent, had found her voice. Kayla's manipulations, so effective for so long, lay exposed and powerless. And I stood amid the ruins, neither triumphant nor defeated, but changed. I wasn't the pleading daughter anymore, desperate for approval. I was simply someone who knew her own worth. I start my job on Monday, I said, gathering my evidence. In Denver. We know, Celeste said. We're proud of you. The words I'd once longed to hear now felt different, not because they weren't sincere, but because I no longer needed them to believe in myself. Aunt Lucky squeezed my shoulder as the others prepared to leave. The battle was over, but the war had never been about winning. It had been about truth, standing firm, not loud, amid the lies. And finally, it had. The Monday morning sun filters through sheer curtains, casting gentle patterns across the hardwood floor of my Denver apartment. I run my fingers along the edge of my desk, still marveling that this space belongs entirely to me. No sister's jealousy lurking around corners, no father's judgment hanging in the air. Just my things, arranged exactly as I want them. I adjust the collar of my blouse and smooth my hands down the front of my pencil skirt. First day at the financial firm, successfully completed. My business cards sit in a neat stack on the entryway table. Emerson Tate, financial analyst, tangible proof that I've made it despite everything. The relief of spending 8 hours surrounded by people who know nothing of Springfield drama feels like breathing fresh air after years underwater. My new coworkers judge me solely on my spreadsheet skills and attention to detail, not against the backdrop of family expectations or small-town gossip. My phone buzzes with a familiar ringtone. Mom. Hi, Mom, I answer, settling onto my small balcony chair. How was your first day, sweetheart? Celeste asks, her voice carrying that same nervous energy she had when dropping me at college 4 years ago. Did everything go all right? 4 years ago, I would have smoothed away any rough edges, crafted the perfect response to reassure her. Today, I take a breath. It was challenging, I admit. I got lost twice finding the conference room, spilled coffee on my notebook during the orientation, and felt completely overwhelmed by the end of the day. I pause. But my supervisor said my preliminary work was excellent, and I'm excited to go back tomorrow. The silence stretches between us before she responds. Thank you for telling me the truth. I'm trying something new, I say. No more sugarcoating. I deserve that, she says softly. I'm proud of you, Emerson. Not just for the job. After we hang up, I water the small potted plant Aunt Lucky sent as a housewarming gift. Our chats have become an anchor, her steady wisdom grounding me when doubts creep in. She reminds me that standing in your truth isn't selfish, it's necessary. My phone chimes with a text from Kayla. Everyone keeps asking where you are. It's annoying. In the past, I would have responded immediately, smoothing things over. Today, I set the phone down, without replying. Her problems are no longer mine to fix. The evening stretches before me, peaceful and unstructured. I slice an apple, arrange cheese on a plate, and take my dinner to the balcony. From 4 stories up, the Denver traffic flows like a distant river, nothing like the quiet streets of Springfield. My colleague Jasmine had invited me to join a group for happy hour, people who know nothing about the Tate family drama or Kayla's betrayal. People who see me as I am now, not as the peacekeeper I've always been. A notification from Lindsay lights up my phone. Just booked my flight for next weekend. Can't wait to see your new place. I smile, remembering our conversation last week about how standing up to family can be both painful and necessary. Family is supposed to lift you up, Lindsay had said, not hold you down. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across my small balcony, I consider how much has changed in 2 weeks. I no longer wake with that tightness in my chest, that constant vigilance against upsetting the family balance. The weight of responsibility for everyone's happiness has lifted. In its place, a quiet confidence grows, the knowledge that I can stand my ground when something feels wrong, that I can build a life based on truth rather than appeasement. My phone buzzes again. Kayla, I miss you. Can we talk sometime? I study the message, noting the absence of both accusation and apology. My thumbs hover over the screen, composing and deleting several responses before I finally type. I'm open to talking in a few months, when I'm ready. No rush to forgive. No guilt about taking time. Just the simple truth. I'll decide when and if reconciliation happens. Tomorrow, I'll meet with my team to present my first project analysis. Next week, Lindsay visits. And next month, Mom and Dad will come to Denver, their first visit, with clear boundaries already established about length and expectations. As night falls, I open my journal and write. Truth doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be strong enough to stand firm amidst the lies. Aunt Lucky's words, now mine. I am Emerson Tate, daughter and sister, but so much more than family roles. Financial analyst, friend, woman building her life on her own terms. And for the first time, that feels like enough.